never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer, fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Wednesday to everybody. It is the final Wednesday in the month of February, which means it's time for the final top 10 countdown in the month of February. And the last 2 weeks, my top 10 countdowns have been by request. This is something that actually crossed my mind last Monday, but since last Wednesday was a requested top 10 countdown, I had to wait until this week to do it. But this should be fun, and if you've watched sports for any amount of time at all, then you can easily comment on this. I'm doing current athletes to make it easier, but I could easily come back another time and do this same countdown and make it all-time athletes. That way I'm not specifying whether or not it's current or all-time. But on this one, it's going to be just current. And it's the top 10 current athletes that I cannot stand. Now, like I said, I'm doing current to make it easier. I didn't feel like it was right to do current and all-time, but I might come back later on and do it, and then that way we'll see whether I despise more current athletes or despise more former athletes. But this can be college or pro athletes, and it can be basketball, baseball, football, racing, wrestling, any kind of sporting event that has athletes can be on this list. Again, it's top 10 current athletes that I can't stand. And if you watch this channel on a regular basis, you're going to know a couple of these because you've heard me mention them over the years, just talking about them and whatever sport they play. But number 10 is CM Punk. Now, honestly, I had Patrick Mahomes at number 10 to begin with, but then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what? I've got to put CM Punk on the list. So Mahomes barely misses the list, but at the rate he's going, if I was to come back and do this same countdown again in a year or two, he'll be on it. But for now, number 10 is CM Punk. He's just a guy that causes way too much drama and way too much trouble. To me, he causes more trouble than what he's worth. Nobody's worth that much drama and that much trouble. And when I see CM Punk, I just want to immediately grab the remote control and turn the channel. And as I go along, you'll realize that most of the athletes on my list, I despise them because of all the drama that they cause off the court, off the field, off the track, whatever sport they're in, because to me, as an athlete, you should go out there on the field, do your job, and go home. You shouldn't be tweeting all the time, making social media videos and posts all the time, going on these sports shows and causing controversy. That's not your job. You get paid millions of dollars to go out there and do whatever sport you do the best. Not to talk, not to type, but to play. Number 9 is Stephen Curry. Now, people claim that off the court he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Maybe he is. But on the court, that stupid little dance he does all the time gets on my nerves. And you put that with the fact that I don't think he understands that a mouthpiece is supposed to go in your mouth. And he actually has other athletes now that have forgotten that their mouthpiece goes in their mouth because of Stephen Curry. It drives me crazy. I never seen an athlete not know that a mouthpiece goes inside your mouth until Stephen Curry started playing. And then you see him and he's chewing on it, he's biting on it, he's got it inside his shoe, he's got it on his head. I bet you if he wore a helmet, he'd put it inside his helmet. I don't think he knows that it's called a mouthpiece for a reason. It's not chewing gum. You don't chew on it. It goes inside your mouth. And now I see athletes in other sports doing the same thing. I never noticed that until Stephen Curry. To me, they should make it a rule that if you don't put the mouthpiece in your mouth, it should be a technical foul or something. Because what's the point of having a mouthpiece if you're going to chew on it? It's not doing you any good when you're biting on it. Number 8 is the only baseball player I have on the list, and that is Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is just an absolute punk. Now, just like Stephen Curry, they claim off the field, he's a nice guy. I'm not sure I believe it. He just looks like a complete douchebag. Number 7 is Odell Beckham Jr. And anybody that watches football should know why I can't stand him. There for a while, there was a 3 or 4 year stretch where it seemed like once a month there was something he was tweeting, something he was posting, something he was saying, something he was doing. He's gotten better as of late, but the things he's done in the past make you just not stand him. Number 6 is the only collegiate player I have on the list, and that is Armando Bacot. I think it's mainly because he plays for North Carolina, which is one of the blue bloods in college basketball. But Armando Bacot can go out there and have 4 points and 3 rebounds, and they'll talk about him like he's the second coming of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and I don't understand it. I think he's extremely overrated. Again, 10 through 6, CM Punk, Stephen Curry, Bryce Harper, Odell Beckham Jr., and Armando Bacot. Number 5 is Kevin Durant. And I used to be a huge fan of Kevin Durant. When he first came out of college and played for the Thunder, I was a huge Durant fan. But over the years, it seems like he's done everything he can do to chase championships. And it's got to the point where I just can no longer stand it. Number 4 is another basketball player, James Harden. And that's because there's no D in Harden. He doesn't even attempt to play defense, which is supposed to be part of the game of basketball. And I think if James Harden played back in the 90s, he would have probably averaged about 10 points and 6 rebounds a game, because most of his points come from driving the lane and the refs call a foul on the opposing team's player and Harden goes to the free throw line and gets 2. If he'd have tried that back in the 90s against the guys that played back when you could actually touch somebody in basketball, he'd have got punched in the mouth one time and he'd have stopped doing that. Number 3 is the only race car driver I have on the list, and that is Chase Elliott. For one, I think he's only there because he's the son of Bill Elliott, and people loved Bill Elliott. So, of course, automatically they love Chase because he's Bill's son. So, I don't think he's earned his spot. I think he's there because he's Bill's son. And if you ever listen to Chase Elliott talk, he has the personality of a tree. If you are a Chase Elliott fan and he talks, that should make you stop being a Chase Elliott fan. If you ever have insomnia and you just lay in bed at night time and can't sleep, just find an interview with Chase Elliott. You'll go to sleep. He is as boring as the backside of the pillow. It don't get much more bland than Chase Elliott. Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, talent-wise, I'd say is the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. And I used to be a fan of Aaron Rodgers back in the day. But in the past 8 or 9 years, he has turned into the biggest prima donna I have ever seen in my life. He's always saying something, and every time he talks, he gets stranger and stranger and stranger. And not only that, but he gets stranger, and what he does on the field gets worse. So you can get strange as long as you're still producing. But the stranger he gets, the less he produces. But his last 5 or 6 years in Green Bay, he blamed everything on everybody else. Green Bay would have home field advantage in the NFC almost every year, and he'd go to the playoffs and get beat first game. And he always blamed the owners. He blamed the fans. Then he said we have no wide receivers. But all he had to do was take a pay cut to keep Davante Adams. But instead, he says he wants more money. So Green Bay gives him more money. So then Davante Adams leaves and goes to the Raiders. Then they lose again in the playoffs. And he says, well, I don't have any wide receivers. But it's your own fault because if you would have taken a pay cut, you could have kept Davante Adams. So they lose Adams, and then he says we don't have any wide receivers. And then they bring in Jordan Love with the same receivers, if not worse receivers, than what they had when Aaron Rodgers was there, and he actually looked good. So that tells you the Packers' problems was not the wide receivers. The Packers' problem was Aaron Rodgers. And the number 1 guy on my list is LeBron James. Now, some of these guys I liked when they first started, but what they've done over time has made me stop liking them. Like Patrick Mahomes, I used to be a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, but he barely missed the list. But I used to like him. I used to like Kevin Durant. Not anymore. I used to like Aaron Rodgers. Not anymore. I have never liked LeBron James. First of all, he has the most punchable face I've ever seen. When I see LeBron's face, I just want to punch my TV every time I see him. Or if I'm watching TV and they mention something he said, I want to punch my TV. If I have the radio on and they mention something LeBron James said or did, I want to throw my radio. I absolutely cannot stand LeBron James. And I have never, ever, 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 ever liked him. From the moment he stepped on the basketball court, I've never liked him. I've always thought he was extremely, extremely overrated. And he's the biggest baby I've ever seen. Only guy you've ever seen that's 6'8", 275, and stands in the lane and just barely gets touched by somebody that's 5'8", 5'9", and he'll flop like he just got shot. And the referees will call a foul almost every time, and it's like, you idiots. Do you really think that somebody that's 6'8", 275 gets knocked that hard by somebody that's 5'9", 5'10", $180? But no, LeBron James, got to call that foul. Got to put LeBron on the line. And then LeBron James can go out there and catch the ball at half court and run all the way to the rim and never bounce the ball, dribble it one time, and they still won't call him for traveling because he's LeBron James. And almost every single day, he's tweeting something, saying something. Just shut up and play basketball. Now, if you want to, after you get done playing, you want to spend all your time tweeting and talking, that's fine. But for now, you make multi-millions of dollars not to talk, not to tweet, to shut up and play basketball. So just shut up and play basketball. And the funny thing is, LeBron James complained about the All-Star game having no defense in it, saying that it makes the game look bad. And he was actually right about that. But since LeBron James said it, he's wrong just because he's LeBron James. But I have never seen anybody get catered to the way LeBron James gets catered to. And then he had that big, huge press conference when he was signing with the Heat. Then he had that big, huge press conference talking about winning championships. And he said, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. And then a handful of years later, he leaves Miami. Just everything he does is nothing but to draw attention to LeBron James. LeBron James is the biggest attention whore I've ever seen in my life. You want to see the definition of a guy that thinks everything's about him? Watch LeBron James. LeBron James can make something that has nothing at all to do with him be about him. LeBron James loves him some LeBron James. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Elvis Costello and ABBA are touring together this summer, but they haven't figured out who the headliner will be. So watch for ABBA and Costello to find out who's on first. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.